what I do. You might be motivated to do what I do. Hey, Dr. Campbell threw up, hundreds of hours of lectures. Dude, I can do 30 minutes. Sure, but don't think I'm perfect. There's nobody that's perfect. There's nobody that's perfect. Nobody that's perfect. None in the world ever perfect. It doesn't exist. There's nobody that's perfect. You can't be human and be perfect. Now, if you want to talk about your religious leaders, if you want to say that Jesus was perfect, or Buddha was perfect, or Muhammad was perfect, there's a sense in which the discourse of their perfection transcends humanity. That's the point. So, you can't be a human being and be perfect. Right? Those figures transcended humanity. And there's an entire discipline, a religious discipline for each of those belief systems that talk about the way in which those individuals transcended their humanity. And as you guys know from my video series on what I believe, I respect and believe in each of those disciplines. And everybody's like, how's that possible? How could you both believe in the tenets of Islam and believe in the tenets of Christianity and believe in the... Why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I look at what Islamic teachers preach and say that there's truth in that? If you believe. That's the big point. It's a conditional. If you believe in transcendence, there will be truth in those narratives. Right? If you believe, if you ascribe to the fact that there is something outside, there's something bigger than this world, then there is room for comfort in those narratives. In this lecture series, it's not about me denying that fact, right? I can't demonstrate, I can't prove that those respective disciplines aren't telling some truth. It's not about my perception versus their perception. Oh, well, the Christians believe. Oh, well, the Muslims believe. Oh, well, the Jews believe. Oh, well, the Hindu and the Confucians and the Taoists, they all believe. It's not about that. It's about saying, listen, so many narratives from the beginning of time, religious narratives, have talked about existence in terms of the relationship between existence and transcendence. And as far as I'm concerned, there is absolute legitimacy to all of those discourses. All that Nietzsche is really doing, as far as I'm concerned, diehard atheists might disagree with me, right? All that Nietzsche, and I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to put my personal beliefs out there, but all I'm saying, if you really want to give Nietzsche credit, and you'll see this in a little bit, I have a quote in here. Nietzsche isn't trying to destroy those systems of beliefs. If you think that Nietzsche's trying to destroy those systems of belief, you haven't read Nietzsche. You haven't read him. And I'll show you in the text, in the lecture series, precisely where he says that it's not about destroying these belief systems. All he's trying to do is say, hey, there's a new narrative. And the narrative is going to be a completely, wholly, secular narrative, a narrative in this world, a narrative which does not appeal to transcendence. It's not that we're denying your system of belief, but I am not going to believe what you believe. And I would respectfully ask that you show me the same respect that I'm showing you. Right? I'm not stepping on your belief systems. I am not demeaning your religious figures. I am not saying that what you believe in is foolishness. I'm asking that you do the same for me. Nietzsche is creating a space, and he has successfully created a space in which we can create a narrative wholly built on secular, egoistic embodiment. That's what this is about. That's what this is about. Right? That's what this is about. And in order to do that, you, not everybody, and I'm not preaching, you, those of you who are at this point, still watching this freaking lecture series, have to recognize that there is a time in which you need to make a decision. And that decision is this just entertainment? Am I sort of marveled by the spectacle that is Dr. Campbell? Or am I recognizing that, yeah, I see now, and I recognize that there is an alternative narrative. I'm not telling you to believe the narrative. I just want you to see it. This whole video series is an attempt to let you see what Nietzsche had in mind. Right? And it isn't, I think, this hostile, destroy them all. Nietzsche has spats where he goes manic like everyone else, like me. And he's very upset. And he challenges. But then he has passages where, and I'll show you in a bit, he says, listen, it's not about the destruction because we recognize this relation of opposition. Because the idea is, with respect to perfection, it is not about this all or none. It is not about this all or none. And it would be a grievous error in his logic to say that everybody needs to give up your Islamic beliefs, give up your Christian beliefs, give up your Judaic beliefs, give up your Confucius beliefs, and now everyone become an atheist. It's that there is an alternative narrative, a narrative which does not rely on transcendence, a narrative which is based in absolute egoistic self-preservation, and it's moral. And it's moral. So, that's what's at stake. That's what's at stake. Number 4. The act of desiring, of evoking what should, what ought to be, is for Nietzsche the lower or lesser state of human contemplation. It's sort of simple to say, oh, well, it should be better. It's a lesser state of contemplation. You don't really need to think hard. You read a text, I tell my students all the time, the easiest thing that you can do in this world is to critique an author. Right? Oh, I read Nietzsche, I didn't like him, you know. He was an anti-Semite. He wanted to kill all the Jews. He was an anti-Christian. He wanted to destroy Christianity. Well, I can tell you have no idea of what Nietzsche wrote. You clearly didn't read the book. Right? No, that's the easiest form of critique is, the easiest form of contemplation is critique. It's much, much harder to assume the position from someone who might otherwise, that might be true. What if it's the case that he really is anti-Semitic? What if it is the case that he really had Nazi affiliation? He wouldn't have liked me as a black dude. Am I going to stop understanding and trying to assess what Nietzsche meant and what he did and the narrative he constructed just because he might not have liked me as a person? No. I'm going to continue to try and analyze it. That's what knowledge is about. Knowledge isn't about accessing the information that makes you feel good, accessing the information that makes you feel comfortable. Knowledge is about accessing the information that challenges you, that makes you question the very nature of your existence. That's what it's about. It's a very dangerous game, right? And I'm not saying that everyone should do it, but for those of you who are interested in that challenge to self, recognize, according to Nietzsche, that you can do this. You can challenge yourself to be better, to work harder, to do the things that no one else in the freaking world can do. Not because you've attained some state of transcendence, not knocking those people who say that they have, simply because you've created a formulaic system that works for you and is wholly moral. That's doable. That's doable. Watch me do it. That's what Nietzsche's saying, right? That's what he's saying. And in fairness, it's hard to knock that. It's hard to knock that. At least that's my interpretation. Other people might not agree with my interpretation. That's fine. I encourage them to upload their own videos on Nietzsche. With respect to me, my interpretation is that there's room for all of these belief systems, right? That we can have Islamic belief and respect. We can have Christian belief and respect. We can have Judaic belief and respect. And now we can have a wholly atheistic, secular belief system, and talk about the way in which that we show respect to others, despite their differences in beliefs. Why? Because we don't need to believe what they believe. I'm not trying to convert. I'm not trying to proselytize, but I don't need to believe in perfection. I'm comfortable in the belief system that says when I die, my body is going to be put in a crematorium and turned into ash. And then that ash can be done whatever you want to do with it. Who cares? I won't know because I'll be dead. That doesn't bother me. Right? The idea of a corpse, my corpse, doesn't bother me. Why? Because that's the end for us all. And I'm comfortable in stopping the story at that point so that there isn't a page there isn't an after life.